A large part of systems transformation work is really being explicitly anti-racist in our focus. And that's really hard for people to do if they have not been part of this work or they're unfamiliar with how to do this work. They're uncomfortable with leading the change when there is resistance to this work, like all the things. And so I really want to provide some framework and some specific language to be able to tackle things as you see them happening. If you have that gut feeling that's like, oh, I'm not sure about this, and I think we could be doing something different, like this might be why, and to be able to attach it to a published framework, I think would be really helpful. Look at a framework that was published as kind of the backbone of this awesome book, which I'm super excited to be a contributor to. And so this is by Doctors Cheryl Matias and Paul Gorski. So check it out if you haven't already. We're going to be interviewing Cheryl Matias in the podcast. Super excited. So check that out as well. That is coming this year later. But so let's get to it. Let's get to the 10 elements of white liberalism that they discuss that kind of prevent actual anti-racist forward movement and change. So here you can see the initial thing that I saw, which was the call for chapter proposals for this book that was published. I think Tahari Jackson was initially a part of this cohort and not on the final publication. So I want to shout out, I'm not sure the contribution level to the framework, so I want to also shout that out. Here we go. Let's just skim through really quickly. I think there's a great, I'll link to this whole thing. There's a great kind of intro here. But looking at each of these, I think is what we want to do. So often we mistake racial equity, quote unquote, efforts, but they're really white liberalism. So here are what the elements are of white liberalism that you might see in action and can call out if and when you see them. Mistaking celebrations of diversity for racial justice progress. Yep. Equating peace as kind of the absence of tension. Dr. Martin Luther King's letter from Birmingham jail talks about this extensively. That's a great text to explore in your staff, also with students. But equating peace with justice, right? So peace is not the absence of tension, right? Justice is what we want, which involves some tension, and that's okay because we are working through it. We are getting uncomfortable to make change. 3, relying on good intentions rather than good actions. It doesn't matter what the intent is if the impact is harmful, right? We need to recognize the impact, and that's what's important, and we can learn from it. Doesn't make you a bad person, just means you need to learn. Be open to that learning. Slowing racial justice progress is number 4 by insisting on baby steps. This is huge in the strategic planning process. I've talked about this many, many times. Let's think about if we're actually slowing down change because we want to take some small steps or not go too far or not want 100% of people to be successful in this, right? When we're setting these numeric goals. Number 5, adhering to a savior mentality or some other ideology that positions white people as the fixers or saviors of students and families of color. For white teachers teaching primarily students of color, this is an important conversation. Why are you here? What is your role? Let's talk about this, right? Unpack some of that stuff. Number 6, misconstruing equity as equal numbers of or representation rather than the elimination of inequity and oppression. Equity is not just having people in the space. It is making the space truly equitable and sans oppression, right? Pro-justice. 7, superficially expressing a desire for diversity, but rarely engaging in the meaningful stuff, right? So incorporating, learning from, listening to, folding folks in, developing teams, leadership teams that make real decisions that incorporate racially marginalized community members. Number 8, refusing to acknowledge the expertise or authority of people of color, even on matters of racial equity. Yes. Number 9, white educators manipulating the narratives of people of color to position themselves as well-intentioned or innocent. Well, this person's my friend. Well, this person said it was okay that I did this, right? Nope. 10, engaging in toxic positivity, insisting that conversations about racism are too negative. We need to focus on the positive. I think this has actually become more called out lately. We talk a lot, I think, in the mental health space as well. This is becoming something that we talk about, right? Mental health is not toxic positivity. Similarly, racial justice is not toxic positivity. We know that that's bad. Let's not do it, right? We are aiming for growth. And I want to say this is not a gotcha or make you feel bad kind of moment. I see myself in my previous actions and possibly without thinking some of my current actions, right? As I go through, this is a learning experience and a framework that helps me recognize, whoa, don't do that. Like, not good, not actually racial justice. Okay, self-correct, do better, right? I think that's the kind of culture building that we want to have in place prior to and building alongside when we're doing this. Not to say, hey, this waits, right? This waits till we have that culture perfect. We're not going to get that. But just note that it's not as easy as just saying, here they are, let's just acknowledge them and we'll be better. Because that's hard for people to do. So again, it's in this month's kind of systems transformation cohort of videos because it's hard, because it's adaptive, and because we need to do that inner work alongside peers who are doing this work as well. So we're in community, we're making change, and I do think this gives us helpful language to just anchor those conversations and those deep reflections.